Always love when we get new options to play our retro games, be it software solutions or hardware options. It doesn't really matter. It's just cool to have new stuff come out. And you know me, there's no right or wrong answers. I don't care how you play. It could be software, emulation. I'm sure you have a device right now that you can emulate games on for free. That's one of the best ways to do it, man. You ain't got to pay anybody, right? That's the hey, why not? But then there's a lot of hardware options out there that either use software or are cloning hardware in some form or another. One of the biggest things have been FPGA options lately with things like Analog with their devices that they've put out, which have been pretty cool, but you know, they're like one and done type of thing, or they're very expensive. And then they're limited on what they support as far as what they play. And then things like Mr. FPGA with the DE10 Nano, those things got a little expensive, a little pricey if you wanted to get into FPGA gaming, which is still a form of emulation, you know, with FPGA gaming. It's just emulating the hardware. And it's going to be only as good as whoever designs the core. So there's that. There has been situations where things haven't been perfect, even with analog. So it doesn't matter what people say. FPGA can be good, can be more accurate, but just going to depend, right? But a lot of people do seem to enjoy it, myself included. And with these options out there, things have started to get a little more reasonable. You know, we have things like Mr. Pi from Retro Remake, which is like a DE10 Nano clone. And I'm sure the people who've been like pimping out trying to sell their little Mr. You know, setups and whatnot, they probably got pissed with that, you know, selling $500-600 setups. And now we got Retro Remakes on a whole Mr. Pi setup for under $200. Hey, good for them. I don't care. But yeah, Retro Remake, definitely check them out when they come back in stock. I think it's a cool device. But if you want something even cheaper, you want to jump into FPGA gaming, we now have this Retro Tang console from Sipeed. They sent me one for purpose of review. I'm not sure if I'm saying their name correctly, Sipeed. But all I know is when I first saw this thing, I Sipeed my pants because I was like, this thing looks pretty sweet, dude. It's a little tiny-ass FPGA console. They say it's affordable, starting at $69. It's powerful, up to 138K LUT4, whatever the hell that means. It's compact, 65 by 56 millimeters, half the size of Mr. I don't really care, but yeah, it's tiny. Versatile, it's expandable, it's open source, community-driven cores, just like Mr. So this thing is starting out, just starting out. It's not going to be perfect out of the box. There's actually some issues I want to talk about, but there's good and bad. There's good and bad. You got to give this thing a shot if you're interested, but realize that it's not going to be perfect if you grab one because it's open source. It's not like even like Mr. You know, Mr. came out. It wasn't like one company made it and they just supported it. It's not like Analog type of thing. And then you have one person you could bitch at for not ever giving like DAC support to the Analog Pocket, you know, type of thing, or like the freaking NT Mini not playing certain NES games. Like I said, FPGA, come on now. It just depends on who's setting things up. But yeah, you can't just bitch at one person. It's going to be the same thing with this. With certain things, though. But as far as the hardware, yeah, maybe you can bitch at one person, Sipeed. But as far as the cores go, it's open source. So yeah, you have to keep that in mind. We'll talk about the hardware, though, but and the cores. I did test everything out that's available right now. It's very limited, very limited. But I thought this thing was pretty cool. It's got 2 USB ports. They sell like a retro console package that comes with a couple crappy Super Nintendo controllers, which kind of sucks. They get the job done, but they really do suck balls. But you can use your own USB controllers. But right now, it actually, there's an issue with USB controllers. They say they're going to fix it in another update where if you change cores, they stop working and you have to unplug them, plug them back in. That gets really annoying fast. But I did notice when you power on the console, sometimes the USB controllers don't work and you got to unplug them, plug them back in. Little minor thing, they're saying they're fixing it. So there's that. They also have this little add-on thing that you could plug into the pins on the side that you can use PS2 controllers. So that's kind of cool. So it is expandable. And there's going to be like other things that people may make to add different controllers, right? But with that little add-on, with the PS2 controllers, you don't have to worry about like them stop working. They just work all the time, even when you change cores. It's probably the way to go, using those DualShock 2 controllers type of thing. I had no issue using them. So there's that. Now, this thing, with all the cores, I did notice like there's some screen tearing in some systems going on which doesn't seem like great. There was some issues with the scaling, things like that with some of the systems here. For the most part, it was okay. Like, I didn't have too much of an issue with the systems that it supported. Right now, I was playing NES, Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, Sega Genesis, and Master System. And just to touch on like Game Boy Advance as an example, you have to have the BIOS. They don't provide it, even if you get one of the setups that come with a micro SD card. You have to provide it yourself, which is simple. Just search for it on Google and you'll find it. You know, Internet Archive type situation. You'll find it out there. Just get it, throw it on the SD card, you're good to go. But with Game Boy Advance, I did want to test like some of the hardware pushers on that system, which I mean, it's just an old handheld, but there was some weird games on there that tried to be 3D, like a Smashing Drive, which actually had voice work in the game too, and some of the songs, and it played it just fine. So I did play a few games like that. Going to Super Nintendo, I tried going to some of the wikis and whatnot, or the FAQs, to see some information about these cores, but I wasn't finding too much information right now. But I did notice some of the special chip games do not run. So like I couldn't get Star Fox to run. I don't know if there's some kind of workaround with that. I couldn't find any information as of the recording of this. Things like Super Mario RPG, I double checked, I had the correct ROM, just wouldn't even recognize it as a game. So yeah, certain things like that weren't running right now. But that's all that's supported is like some 2D games, 2D systems, like 8 and 16-bit stuff. You're not getting currently anything higher than that. There's work in progress stuff like PlayStation, Neo Geo Pocket, things like that. So it's all a work in progress, But yeah, with those systems, for the most part, little nitpicky things. I did notice sometimes the games would load up. They do take a hell of a long time to load. Certain games that are bigger games, they're not instant. They don't just load up right away. They do take some time. Those Game Boy Advance games, I'm just sitting there like twiddling my thumbs around, man, like right up my ass and whatnot, waiting for the game to load. They don't load instant. It's just not happening. So they do take some time. But I did notice sometimes if I was exiting the core, loading up another game, sometimes the graphics would get garbled up in some games. And then I would have to unplug the system, plug it back in, because there's no power button. Just unplug, plug it back in, restart the core. It would be okay. It would happen on occasion. So there's that little nitpick. Maybe something be fixed in an update in the future. I don't know. But there's that. What else? Oh, one of the biggest things, and I'm only going to briefly mention this because this is freaking annoying. I didn't buy this, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. But if you did buy one of these, and I did see people bitching about this, I didn't know until I got this in my hands, and I thought I had a defective unit. I plugged the SD card, the micro SD card, into the micro SD card slot, and it didn't work. And I was like, what the hell? Is this thing not working? And I kept trying, set up a whole new micro SD card, didn't work. So then I went to their X account, Sipeed, and I saw people talking, posting comments like, hey, this is BS. We were led to believe that the SD card slot worked. So then I was like, what? So then I was looking in the package, and there was like this little USB-C OTG adapter with a micro SD card slot in it that I thought was just meant to plug into your computer to transfer files. Nope. It's meant to plug into the USB-C port on the little Tang console and then plug power through it, this pass-through, to power the system up in the USB drive to read the micro SD card to play your games. So as far as the compact design, people are a little annoyed that the SD card slot doesn't work. And then they're even more annoyed because that was never mentioned before. So like, I tried following along on this project. There was never really a lot of information shared out there. But now they're saying, well, if you pre-ordered before February 25th, this is the version you're getting. If you pre-ordered after, we revised the board and the SD card slot is going to work. There's some optimizations and whatnot. So yeah. And it's like, well, that's kind of sucks, right? If you bought it earlier, if you pre-ordered earlier, you get one that the SD card slot doesn't work. You have to use a stupid OTG adapter. Lame, dude, lame. But yeah, beside that, I think it's a neat little system. A little limited right now. It's going to depend on how, popular it gets. If it catches on, if people wind up porting cores to it, working on it, that kind of thing. Right now, it's a little rough. It's neat. the end of the day, it's going to be up to you for the price, $69 to $99. I mean, Mr. It's already kind of established, and you can get a Mr. Pi for a reasonable price. I know what I would go with, but it is a neat device. Check it out if you're interested. I'll put a link down below. Thanks for watching. Bye.